Would you sit, please? It's amazing, isn't it, how when we feel we've walking with the Lord or we've got it all sorted out, that suddenly we hear messages that challenge us. In the reading from Jeremiah this morning, Jeremiah the prophet saying, "Why have you turned away from God? Why are you blaming God for what's going on? Why have you put your trust in other things? Why have you forgotten all the things that God did for you?" And he goes on to explain how he'd led them out of slavery and all those sort of things. When we come to the New Testament, we find Jesus also tends to try and turn things upside down. You know, sometimes we think of the church as a place where we're here to comfort all those who are in trouble or disturbed. But Jesus seems at times being more willing to disturb the comfortable, who are too comfortable in their ways, who are too comfortable in doing things the way they want them to be done, or to follow the things that sound good to them in the short term, rather than getting to the root of our human nature, and where we truly do find fulfillment, where we do receive the benefits of walking with the Lord our God. You know, our economy, our society seems to be obsessed with money. Their aim is to get the best job and the best income and the best this and the best that, and to consume more, to buy more things. And of course we're starting to learn, well, all that does is starts to destroy the planet. Because we're all after growth, more. But there's only so much to go round. And if we take more than we really need, all we're doing is taken from the poor or leading to wider problems in society, in nature, in the world. And of course the scientists are telling us that right now, aren't they? About climate change and the impact of the human race on this planet. In the gospel reading today, Jesus is invited to a feast, a banquet. And as he's going, he sees somebody in trouble. It's the Sabbath day. Jews don't work on the Sabbath day because it dedicates the whole day to the Lord. But when you follow a law or a rule without thinking about how that affects others, you get into this situation that Jesus encountered. And he actually pointed the finger at those Pharisees and said, "Is it right to heal this person on the Sabbath day?" And they weren't game to answer him. They just remained silent. And he healed. And he said, "How many of you, if you've got a child in trouble on the Sabbath, you say, 'Wait till tomorrow, I'll fix you up after the Sabbath's over'? Or if you've got an animal that needs feeding or needs water or needs rescuing from a pit, do you say, 'Well, sorry, it's the Sabbath, I'll be back tomorrow to pull you out'?" Is that the will of God? No. Because it's not the letter of the law, it's also the intent and what goes with that guide. To preserve the Sabbath, or for us, Sunday, as a day when we reflect on God and we spend at worship or just reflecting on God, giving God one day out of a 7-day week, when we stop and we think, we acknowledge who God is. We acknowledge the glory and the wonder and all the benefits that we've received from God. That's the rule. That's the guide. That's why we gather on a Sunday, the day on which Jesus rose from the dead, the first day of the week. For the Jews, it was the Sabbath. Taking it from the generation stories in Genesis of creation, where they had worked out that a 7-day working week was a good pattern for balance in our lives. And the story of creation is put in those terms that God created the whole universe and everything in 6 days, and on the 7th day he rested. And it carried through into their guides that the 7th day, 1 in 7, was to reflect on what God has done for us, to give thanks, and just spend time with God in whatever way is appropriate. But it doesn't mean neglecting the poor, neglecting people in need. Oh, but doesn't that make it easy to get out of it? You know, someone arrives at your door just as you're getting ready to go to church on Sunday, and long-lost relatives or something, and you say, oh, they've arrived. Oh, well, we can't go to church today because we've got to give them hospitality. But of course, there is an alternative, and that is to say, oh, look, welcome. Look, we're just off to church. Why don't you come with us? And we'll spend time with you later. But how often are we not able to do that? We accept the excuse. We need to find time to be with God. It's good for our psyche. It's good for our spirit. It's good for our wholeness in our lives. The parables of Jesus, the stories that Jesus told, are set in their era and the everyday events in their lives of his day. And we need to translate them into our week, our day. And of course, we've got that other story in today's gospel, haven't we? About when you do get invited to a feast or a festival, and you go, where do you sit? And of course, sometimes people will go and sit at the high table or sit up close. Because I guess they're putting themselves above themselves at times. And Jesus saw them doing that at the feast that he went to. So he told them that story, and he said, no. How embarrassing would it be if the host comes and says, oh, look, this is reserved for somebody else. Would you mind sitting down there? Because you're even, touching their pride again, aren't you, if that sort of response? He said, no, go and sit down the bottom. And then the host will come, oh, no, you come up higher. Come and sit up here. You'll be better off. Even in your human weakness, you're better off. But that's not the purpose of the story. The purpose of the story is to be humble and helpful. Not get above ourselves, but also not demean ourselves, but just to be humble. And even if you're throwing a dinner party, who do you invite? The people who have been sleeping on the street outside all week? Or do you invite your relatives, your friends? I guess there's hardly anybody here. I certainly haven't done it. I'm lucky I don't have people sleeping outside my place. But you know, it's the principle again, isn't it, that makes the point. We reach out to others in need and invite them to be part of our lives to the best of our ability. We reach out to the poor, the troubled, the lonely, the homeless. And how best can we encourage them, give them a lift, provide some help? It's a challenge. And it's not just giving to charity, it's our attitude. Even when you see them in the street. Now, they might have made all sorts of terrible decisions in their lives and ended up where they are. But often they know that they're in a bad place. They know that they mightn't be ready to accept it. But we can at least be civil. We can at least provide the best help that we can, either directly or indirectly. Because that's what Jesus did. And we are encouraged to be the presence of Jesus in our community. It's not just giving charity. It's having an attitude that accepts people and recognises where they're at the moment and how best we can help them, either directly or indirectly, put them in touch with professional people, whatever's appropriate. But at least smile. Yes, self-care is important, but we don't have to look down on them. We don't have to criticise them. We don't have to just try and get rid of them out of our lives. Because God has blessed us with an acknowledgement of his love. That when we are down and depressed, God's love is there for us. When we need encouragement, hopefully we're in a place where we can receive the help of others, the encouragement of others, the words of others that uplift us rather than criticise us. And I pray that we as a Christian community will always be showing God's love in the community. Yes, we have Pandoras to offer cheap clothing and things, or even provide it free when necessary. We've got Pete's Pantry to give food to help those who are really struggling in that area. We have breakfasts and lunches at times when we invite them in to give them a feed. But do we do it lovingly? Do we do it with a smile? Or do, maybe not in their presence, but behind the scenes, be critical of them? It's so easy to slip. It's so easy to be judgmental when we've got no idea of where they are in their lives or how they got to where they are. Let us show God's love, God's presence in what we do and how we do it. Whether it's directly, whether it's through the ministries of the church, or whether it's through the ministries in the wider community. We are God's people, and God calls us to be God's presence in our community. Let's do it.